Right, you all did a great job on the last project, so now we've come to this, identity in moments. So we're going to kind of look at our brand new project. Here's the assignment. So I want you to, before you even know what the heck we're doing, know what the assignment is. We'll talk about it again at the end if it doesn't make any sense. So, you will be creating a character that by some definitions is Jewish. Okay? They're not required to be the stereotypes. In fact, that's going to make me nervous if you go too heavy on the stereotypes. We're then going to create an installation piece around Jewish identities. Okay? So, you will act out one of the characters, and as it's clearly written up there, but I just want to make it clear, just because you made the character doesn't mean it's the one you're going to portray. So you're going to be creating characters for other people. You don't get to pick the other people either. Alright? So let's delve into this a little bit. What does it do? We associate it with a religion because it is a religion, but as Pew Research, which does a pretty good job of this stuff, says, there are lots of Jewish people that it has nothing to do with a faith for them. They don't do any religious ceremonies. They are self-identifying as Jewish. So there's something else there, some cultural piece. Okay, well, how orthodox are they? Well, in this diagram, we see how age plays a role. Orthodox are in every group a minority, so remember that. If everybody comes back to me with orthodox characters, I'm going to make you all do them again. Some people can have them, but it better not be the whole class, alright? But here are the statistics. Now let's talk briefly about Unorthodox. So Unorthodox is the Netflix show that talks about a woman leaving a very, I would say, almost ultra-Orthodox community to experience life outside of this. Now, she experiences a lot of different types of freedom, and I want you to keep that in the back of your head, alright? How Jewish is this moment? Alright, so we have Darren Kleinberg, who's going to try to help us with some of the bigger ideas here. What is a Jew? Well, you're going to have to decide what type of Jew we're talking about. In fact, how old are they? Remember, you're going to have to create a profile for this character. What additional ethnicities? What about their political status, their social status? Are they self-identifying as a Jew, or is it just that other people consider them Jewish? That's not the same thing. So they're not required to believe that they're Jewish at all. Somebody thinks they are, though, and that's how they get in here. We want to stay in the gray area. Okay, so not much written on this slide. I just want to explain the idea of moments of Judaisms. So I'm going to quote really quick from Kleinberg. Intended to indicate, this is moment Judaisms, is intended to indicate the very real distinction between the many different expressions of Judaism across Jewish landscapes, the sheer variety of Jewish behaviors, rituals, and social mores demands an acknowledgement of the plurality of Jewishness and Judaisms. Okay, so what does that mean? What does any of that mean? It means that how we define being Jewish changes all the time. There can be moments that you're like, oh man, I feel really Jewish right now. Or you're seeing somebody, or the character you create is acting very Jewish and not necessarily stereotypical. Maybe they're just doing an activity that is, by its very nature, they're eating latkes. Okay? It doesn't have to be something negative. It can just be an activity that is religiously Jewish, right? But the list of activities that you would define as Jewish depends on who's writing the list. Someone who's very Orthodox? Someone who's not Jewish at all? Somebody who views it as a culture, but not for them a religion. Okay? These are all different answers, so it has different lists. And that makes it very complicated to define what an American Jewish experience is in some kind of weird monolith. And that's what we're exploring. So, let's move on. David Hollinger talks about this kind of post-ethnic world. And this is really, really important, and it's something I want you to get into your brains for this assignment, and I'm not saying I'm predicting it, but we might be doing this with other groups of people, and that might all culminate to the final project in May. All right? So, back of your head, this isn't the only time we're going to be doing a project like this, and then all the characters from all that, never mind. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so we used to live in a world that was very much based on ethnicity, and it was singular, it was fixed, and it was inherited. If your parents were, so were you. But it really doesn't work that way anymore. First, it's voluntary. People can identify or not identify. They can leave cultures and they can join new ones. Does that make sense? All right. Also, they're overlapping. We have people who often, it's pretty regular that people marry outside of their ethnic, religious backgrounds. So we have this very much a different type of fusion happening, and it's dynamic. There are moments that people will feel one part of their culture and moments they'll feel differently because of all of their overlapping voluntary cultures. Okay? And remember that this complexity is exactly what we want to lean into. Okay, so hang on. Can we just stop for a second? I talk so fast. And I know what you're thinking. So what? Who cares? What difference does it make? Well, it makes a lot of difference. For hyphenated Americans, who gets to define the hyphen matters a lot. And especially for people who have multiple identities. It makes it even more important how we can define and talk about this group in this middle range here. There's one other important reason why it matters, because it's your assignment. But that feels kind of like I'm being shameless here. And look, I don't care if you're not Jewish at all. I know not every student in this classroom is Jewish, but I want to set this up for a conversation that's going to lead to other conversations about people who might not feel like they belong, but by some definitions they do. Are they Jewish enough? Are they Christian enough? Are they Muslim enough? Are they a good Muslim or a bad Muslim? This is the question in every way. Are you a good Jew or a bad Jew? Because if we give it that kind of power in that context, we have to ask more questions about who is creating this list. Who gets that authority? And so we're in the first little piece where we're going to try to show a range of people who apparently, by some definition, are Jewish. Let's move on for a second. Here's this clip again. So, she used to wear a wig, as many women who are in very Orthodox communities do, and Hasidic communities. But right now, she has let the wig go away, and she is simply floating in the water. So, you could make a pretty good case that by taking off the wig, she is doing something very not Jewish. There's nothing of her Jewish heritage that she is experiencing right now. This is a moment of freedom. But before we get too far into it, let's ask a harder question. Why isn't this Jewish? After all, most Jews don't wear wigs. So why is taking off a wig a non-Jewish event? It's certainly a non-Orthodox or unorthodox event. Okay, there, I threw the title in. That's my one pun. But that doesn't answer the question. Is doing something non-Orthodox considered not Jewish? Now, there is no answer. I'm not going to try to answer it, and I don't want any of you to either. I want the questions to be challenging, so when you create your character, make the questions messy. One last twist. Your character must have a stance on the Israeli and the Palestinian, everything going on in Gaza. They have to have an opinion. And that will inform which other characters they will consider Jewish. All right. I think I've covered everything. Yeah. Remember, due dates are on your syllabus. Please don't ask me. All right. So get to work, everybody.